Hi, Sheridan. Welcome to Manila. Hi, Tay. Center. So beautiful, Sherry. Just like Jay. Stop.
Your microphone. Okay. So before we begin, maybe you can turn on. You can long press the button. All right, there you go. Okay. So I would like to maybe Sheridan. I have a request before we begin our interview. Right? Can you stand up one more time? And perhaps we can give the press a preview of how you will introduce yourself. Because this is going to be your first introduction, so can you tell them your name and maybe you can also shout your country that you're presenting. All right.
Sheridan Mortlock, Australia!
Okay, thank you. All right, so before we begin our press conference, you may sit down. So Sheridan, I would like to ask first, how are you doing today?
I am very well, thank you. I'm enjoying the Philippines a lot so far. I've been here for a couple of days now, nearly a week, and I'm enjoying experiencing the different Filipino foods. I tried some Jollibee, I tried some Filipino snacks, and I've got much more to try yet.
Okay, so of all of the things that you ate so far in the Philippines, what's your favorite?
I'm going to have to say it's a tie between the Jollibee spaghetti and the pillows.
All right, so you love the Jollibee spaghetti. And Sheridan, can you tell the press, how long have you been here in the Philippines so far? Like, how many days have you been here?
So I arrived the 29th of October. It's been a whirlwind. It feels like I've been here for a month and also for a day. And so I got to explore around a little bit in Manila, which was beautiful, and I can't wait to explore more with all of my Miss Earth sisters. And then I've been under the protection of Pro Media, and we'll be doing some training to get me ready and hopefully bring home Australia's first Miss Earth crown.
All right, so okay, I'm gonna ask the very first hard-hitting question. I'm pretty sure the press would love to hear your answer for this. Of all of the beauty pageants, why did you decide to join Miss Earth?
So Miss Earth Australia was actually my first big pageant that I've ever done. I joined that in 2019, and at the time I didn't know anything about pageants. They're not very big in Australia, especially compared to the Philippines, and I've absolutely loved being here in such a pageant-loving country. And so I joined Miss Earth and I got runner-up in that, and I'm like, oh, maybe this is something that I'm actually, good at. I should give it another go. And so I googled more pageants, and so there was like World and Universe, but I knew that my true passions were with the environment. As I'm studying global sustainability, and the environment is always something that I've been super passionate about, I knew that if I joined another pageant, I would still be advocating for the environment anyway, so why not stick to the pageant where that's the main cause?
Okay, so like what you said, you're here under the care of Pro Media. So we would like to acknowledge, of course, Sir Paul, the CEO of Pro Media, and of course, Ms. Jam, the CEO of the Bell Salon. So far, as far as I know, you did attend an event already here in the Philippines. So can you tell us about the event that you attended? I know it's a pageant, so how was the experience?
So I got to go to Miss and Mr. Chinatown, and let me just say, even though it may have been comparatively a smaller one than to what I'll be going to on the International with Miss Earth, I was blown away with the production. In Australia, as I was saying, pageants aren't that big, we're more into sports. So being able to go to one and see the screens and the hosts and the glitz and the glamour got me super excited for the Miss Earth pageant that's coming up. And it was a really, really great experience. I remember sitting there as the music started and it was so loud you could feel it in your bones, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what's happening? I'm so excited, I can't wait for the candidates to come out. I didn't know who any of them were at the stage, but I was excited. The energy was really great, so definitely one of my favorite moments so far.
Okay, so she already has an idea of what it's like to be in a pageant in the Philippines. So Sheridan, I will ask ahead of time. So in Australia, for your Miss Earth Australia organization, is it right that it's composed by a lot of Filipinos as well.
Yes, so the Filipino love for pageants extends even internationally. So we've got a great team, Miss Earth Australia, who are mainly all Filipinos, and so in a way that's really good because they truly care about the pageant and they know the values of the pageant, and so they're really able to do their best and, you know, help the candidate when they do go overseas to compete.
All right. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen of the press, feel free to raise your hand. Okay. Okay. So, okay, go ahead. Okay. So, Sheridan, can you stand up before we ask the press, and you can introduce yourself? Say something about who you are, what you stand for, and why should we all root for you?
So hello, I've already given a fantastic introduction by JB, but again, I'm Sheridan Mortlock. I am Miss Earth Australia 2022, and I am very, very passionate about the environment. It is something that I've always grown up in. My family and I grew up in the country, and we were also very lucky enough to travel around the Australian countryside for 14 months living out of a camper trailer. So every day me and my two younger brothers would wake up to a different beautiful Australian scenery. So it's always been something very close to my heart, which is why I'm here to do Miss Earth, to promote more and to really get the message out about just how important and how topical climate change is and how much of an issue that it is that affects everybody internationally. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for that very beautiful introduction. So now let's call people from the press. Okay.
First question is from Jason.
Hello, good afternoon, Sheridan. This is Jason Cappuccino of Sashes and Scripts, and I just want to ask you about the issue of greenwashing among big brands, big international brands. What do you think is the solution to that kind of problem?
So greenwashing, for those of you watching who might not know what greenwashing is, it's basically when companies use green slogans and words to make themselves appear more sustainable than they actually are. And this is a problem because as consumers, we're always trying to make the right choice, and especially with people that care about climate change, you know, they're looking out for those products that are saying they're green or environmentally friendly. But then if you're supporting them and then they're not, it's just a betrayal of trust to not only the consumer, but, you know, it makes you wary of other companies that are actually doing the right thing. So what needs to happen is there needs to be a protocol in place, either government legislation or a consumer law that states that you cannot use those words and use those acronyms and ideologies if you are not in fact true and sustainable. Much like the health star rating, I believe that there should be a sustainability star rating so that we actually know who we should support.
A follow-up question with regards to greenwashing. Do you think that governments around the world should impose harsher punishment for brands and companies that do so?
I definitely think that they should take more control. As consumers already, we live very, very busy lives, right? We don't have time every day to Google every single product in the supermarket or the mall. It shouldn't be up to us as the consumers to figure out whether a brand is lying to us or not. It should be stopped at the source so that we have no doubts and that we have trust and that we can fully support the brands that are doing good, because there are brands out there and it's fantastic. So yes, there should be, start from the top and go to the bottom.
Hi Sheridan, welcome to Manila. Okay, by the way, I'm Nolly Perioso for OPM Worldwide. I just want you to ask, in your opinion, what is the most significant environmental issue in the land down under that is widely ignored by its people?
So it's actually rather ironic that you asked that question, as this year's Miss Earth theme is fauna. Unfortunately, Australia has thousands and thousands of beautiful, beautiful fauna and flora that are endemic to the country. However, a lot of them are going extinct. We've actually, unfortunately, Australia's got one of the worst rating when it comes to protecting our animals. And so this even includes our Amos koala, who was recently hit very, very hard by our bushfires. And so what needs to be done is luckily actually we just got a new government in and they've just put in some new legislation to state that they're going to try and protect a certain amount of animals that are on the endangered and critically endangered list. So that's a great step in the right direction. We need more movements like this where government is putting in legislation and funding to help protect the animals, because otherwise they'll just disappear one day and we'll never get them back.
Okay, just a follow-up. Okay, if you could invest money in your community regarding preservation of environment, how would you do it and why?
So I've sort of got two communities at the moment. So right now I'm living in Paddington, which is a suburb of the city of Sydney, and they're actually very green and very fantastic, the initiatives they're doing. However, in Jerilderie, where I grew up in the small country town, we really do need more environmental initiatives. And so one thing that I would hope that they would put funding into is supporting our farmers. Because even though farmers might get a bad rep because they're known as one of the most polluting industries, without them, we would starve. And I don't know about you guys, but I like food. So there are ways that farmers can produce agriculture much more sustainably, but what they need to do that is funding. Because already in Australia, our farmers are sort of on the back end. They've been hit by the climate change. They've been hit by fires, droughts, constant water being taken away from them. So they just need some funding and support to help that change in a more sustainable direction.
Strong content. Good luck.
Thank you so much. Salamat po.
Peter Pan.
Okay, there's a question. Okay.
Hi, good afternoon. This is Peter Pan from Critical Beauty Philippines. My question is for the organization and for you as well. My question is, Ma'am Joy and Sir Paul. Why did you choose Sheridan in Pro Media? And for Sheridan, why did you accept Pro Media? Yeah.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Why did you choose Sheridan as one of your queens?
So what happened was I was asked by the organization, Miss Earth Australia, to judge, and it was only that was the first time I met Sheridan. By chance, I was the one who awarded her best in swimsuit, and as you know, with Pro Media, it's very important. Physique and fitness is very important. So I was one of the judges, and I was the one who awarded her best in swimsuit, and I also happened to be the one to give her the bouquet when she finally won. That was the first time I got to meet her, and then I left the city, went to Melbourne, and when I came back, we had a dinner with the org and with Sheridan. We just got to talking about how Pro Media can help. I think the MEA, Miss Earth Australia org, they know what Pro Media does here for beauty queens, for beauty pageants, that we've achieved a little bit of success in crowning, getting queens some crowns. So we talked about collaboration. Now, Australians and Filipinos, we're very similar in our, we're family oriented, we're warm. You will see this as you get to know Sheridan more, that she's very Filipino in terms of just being friendly and pleasant. And as mentioned earlier, the Miss Earth Australia org is mostly Filipino, and the pageant they're supported by Filipino Australian businessmen. It's a Filipino community supporting the.
Have any additional questions? Yes, question.
More on the personal note. This is your. How many times have you joined Miss Third continuously?
I had a break.
When was the break?
So I
Last year?
Yes, last year.
Okay. So you have already answered that you chose Miss Earth because of your advocacies and things like that. And Mr. Paul have mentioned that you have all the things that we think will make you win. But what is that one thing that you think that you still need to do to ensure that you really win the first Miss Earth crown for Australia?
That is an excellent question, thank you.
Hope you have an excellent answer.
Pressure. Definitely something that I need to work on, and actually occurred during the Miss Earth Australia pageant that just occurred was with the question and answer segment. I find sometimes I have too much to say, and so sticking to that 30-second time limit is quite a challenge, because knowing so much and being able to study it, you really get a good understanding of not just the surface level, but everything that occurs around it and influences around it. So trying to fit all of that into a 30-second answer to get that point across is definitely something that I'm working on, and I'm sure that we'll smash it.
And how is it so far?
It's excellent so far. Been an excellent coach right here, so it's just about getting to the point of making a strong impact.
Yes.
Very memorable.
Yeah. And also I'd like to emphasize, we just finished with Chelsea. She got head-to-head, so I think I'm just going to transfer that to her.
Wow.
Hopefully she'll win.
The next question is from Mike Francisco. Wait lang.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello. Anyway, many of us asking about your advocacy, and the acronym of your advocacy is ACE. Can you tell us more about it so that the other media will know about your advocacy? Go ahead.
Absolutely, thank you. So my advocacy this year is based on the acronym ACE, which is Action, Care and Education. And the reason that I've picked this acronym and such a broad sort of, a broad advocacy is that there is a lot that needs to be done, and just focusing on water conservation, for example, or just air pollution, they're all sort of interconnected, like the ocean sucks out CO2 from the atmosphere, just like trees, and then harms the water, etc. So with my advocacy, I really sort of wanted to hit everything in one go. So with action, it's all about taking action. It's probably one of the most important aspects, because if we don't do anything, if we don't speak up, if we don't enact change, then it will only continue to get worse. Care is a really special one, because care is all about loving the environment and connecting with nature. Because if you are disconnected from something, then how can you care for it? Which is, for example, why zoos are so great, because you get to see the animal in real life. It makes you actually care about the animal. So much like the animal, we need to connect with nature and remember to love nature and respect it and where we've come from, and that we rely on it. And then education is the last one. And education is knowing what the consequences of our actions might be, knowing what the possibilities are, and knowing also how we have come to be here. And it is only by using all three of them in conjunction that we can make sustainable and substantial work towards the climate change efforts.
Follow-up question.
Follow-up question. What is the treatment of your organization in Sydney?
What is it? Is it how do they treat me or how I treat them?
The treatment.
Oh, the treatment? They've been great. They've been very supportive. They did everything they could to send me over here so that I could train with Pro Media early, which I'm very, very grateful for. And so yeah, I know that they have my back and they just want the best for me.
Definitely, yes.
Next question is for Jay Patel.
Hello, Sheridan. Hi, I'm Jay Patel from Malaya Business Insight. Okay.
Thank you very much.
You look like many pageant fans say you look like Taylor Swift, and it just so happened that your chosen Fauna is the Swift parrot, fastest parrot in the world, the fastest flying parrot in the world. So, could you tell me about more why you chose the Swift parrot, and at the same time the other fauna or other species in Australia that are also endangered?
Absolutely, thank you very much. Well, yes, good job pointing out that I did pick the Swift parrot as my fauna, and this was on purpose due to my resemblance to Taylor Swift. Really, yes, I did pick it because of that. But that's not the only reason. The main reason is that they are very, very, very critically endangered. In fact, I've got a Swift parrot on my pin right here, which I got from a little local shop in Tasmania, which is where they're based. And the Swift parrots are critically endangered. There's only about 750 left, and there's sort of no big government plans at the moment to really help them, and they could become extinct within the next 10 years. So the timing is crucial. And then it sort of lined up perfectly because I'm like, okay, if people remember that I look like Taylor Swift, hopefully they'll remember my Fauna, the Swift parrot. So I wanted to create that connection so that people would remember it, so that we could spread the word about this bird, because it is only with lots and lots of voices speaking up that we might be able to protect this little guy.
All right. And just to set the record straight, do you love Taylor Swift?
She is my favorite artist.
Can you sing? Can you give us a sample?
Unfortunately, you know, Taylor Swift has sort of ahead of me with years of training, but I will be singing for my talent, so stay tuned for that.
Wait for that.
Sheridan, I have one more question.
Absolutely.
With so much ahead of you, with so much that you've been doing, you're a double degree, you're pursuing 2 degrees actually. So my question is, who is Sheridan? Who is Sheridan 10 years from now?
10 years from now, you know, if we're speaking ambitiously, Prime Minister of Australia. But no, seriously, I would, after I finish my degree, so I've still got 2 more years of full-time study to go, which I'm very excited to get back to also. I do want to get into politics basically straight away, because time is of the essence for climate change, which is also why I'm doing Miss Earth right now, right here, because this door of opportunity opened up to me, and I'm like, this is excellent, this is exactly on my life path, I'm going to grab it by the horns and run, because you just can't. You know, maybe 50 years ago we could have spent more time to try and fix it, but now we really must take action. And so 10 years from now, hopefully, I'll be Prime Minister of Australia. I would have enacted excellent environmental legislation so that Australia is on track to meeting all of its international obligations, and hopefully this would have influenced other countries to do the same.
Another question from Gilbert.
Prime Minister Sheridan Mortlock.
The most beautiful Prime Minister 10 years from now.
Good afternoon, Sheridan. My name is Kim from the Daily Tribune. So, how are you going?
I am great, thank you. Kamusta ka?
I'm doing good, thank you. All right. I want to visit Australia. So there are 8 states in Australia. Say I'm visiting Northern Territory and Tasmania. Where will you take me?
This is an excellent question to ask me, as I've been to these places. So Northern Territory, you definitely have to go and check out the crocodiles. I know that they're a bit scary, but they're just such a beautiful, gorgeous animal. So I definitely go on tour there, go on the rivers, and just see, you know, it's such a different experience. Everyone's sitting there on the boats and they're so quiet, waiting to see, oh my gosh, where's the crocodile going to be? Are we going to die? No, we don't die. But it's very beautiful to see it, so definitely that. And in Tasmania, there were so many beautiful, beautiful waterfalls in Tasmania. In fact, I nearly got waterfalled out with my family, like, another waterfall, really? You know? But they're very, truly gorgeous. Tasmania has one of the most gorgeous landscapes. It's very, very green there, but it's very cold, so take a jacket.
Thank you. I have one more question. So, where do you want to go to the Philippines?
Oh, I would really like to go to Boracay. I see it's very beautiful. So maybe after the pageant, I'll get to nip over there for a little vacation.
Thank you. Good luck.
Okay, I'd like to ask a question just to follow up. Okay, can you tell them something that's completely unique about you? Since you're talking about Australia and travel, what's that one thing that's completely unique about you?
Well, something that I can do that I've not met many other people that can do it is I can clap one-handed. Yeah, would you like a demonstration?
Yeah, clap one-handed. I can't.
Can anybody do it in this room? Yeah.
Louder, please, louder.
So, Sheridan, just to follow up, you said that when you were younger, you traveled, like, with your family. Can you tell them about it?
Absolutely. So when I can see Adam trying. When I traveled with my family, so my 2 younger brothers and I, and my mum and dad, we lived in Melbourne at the time, and we packed up our lives. My mum and dad quit their jobs, and we rented out a house, and we packed everything everything into a camper trailer. And so what we did was my brothers and I were homeschooled, and we travelled around. We started in Tasmania, and then we worked all the way around. And so this really allowed me, I didn't realise it at the time, I feel like, respect it at the time, but it truly allowed me to see just how diverse and beautiful Australia's landscapes are, because we are truly one of the most diverse countries. We're very, very large. We've got deserts, wetlands, tropics, you know, like the list goes on. And so to be able to wake up every morning, as I mentioned before, and just see a different environment and also just different communities, it was so eye-opening, especially as I was so young. And, you know, being able to look back at it now as I'm older, that experience was truly very unique and very rare. And I don't know many people that got to do that, got to travel their own country. You know, as Australians, we usually love going elsewhere. We're notoriously known for backpacking through Europe and Asia. so to be able to actually do my own country was truly a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and hopefully I'll get to do it again now that I'm older, maybe when I have kids.
All right. So she's practically a wild thornberry. You are familiar with that show.